Brown. I made sure I took this assignment when I found out you were part of it. For those of you who don't know, I coached college basketball for 13 years, been coaching high school for 8 now. When I attended here, I literally sat in his practices and stole as much as I could. He then later introduced me to Kyle Locke, who's over there, who is still part of my basketball world. You've been an impact on my career and been a mentor to me, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I remember driving down to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with my family in the vehicle, driving down to Chapel Hill to watch you take on the North Carolina Tar Heels in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Was that your first tournament bid?
It was the women's first tournament.
Right, the women's, yes.
Yeah, we have been 3 times with the men already, so I was sort of familiar with the NCAA tournament at the time. Of course, when we're 16th seed,
right,
and we're playing the number 1 seed.
Ivory Ladder.
That's who I remember a lot. And, but we played a great second half. We were down by 30 in the first half, and we finished the game down by 30. So we tied in the second half.
Tell us about your times with Coach Frank Mitchell. What did you learn with him that you took into your career as a head coach?
Discipline, most of all. You know, Frank was a disciplinarian. He was sort of a drill sergeant. I was sort of the buffer on the team when they got upset with Frank. They used to come to me, and we would talk it out. And but Frank was very particular about things on the floor and things off the floor, and I learned a lot from him because of that. I think that Stephen Stewart and Kyle Locke would say the same thing. But that's mostly it. It was the discipline that he had. He had players that when he was teaching the zone defense, they might be 2 steps from where they needed to be. And he would stop practice and he would talk for 10 minutes about those 2 steps where they're supposed to be. And that made a difference. It really made a difference.
Tell us about the transition, though, mid-season from coaching men's basketball to taking over women's program. Was that something you embraced or were you convinced to do?
Well, I can tell you that I think we were playing Marquette at the time, and we were in Milwaukee, and things happened in the women's program that the coach didn't show up to go to Auburn in Alabama, and Frank and I talked to who would coach the team. And the next morning, he said, I got just the right person to go down and coach the team. And I said, who? He said, you. So after we played, I jumped on the plane the next morning and from Milwaukee down to Atlanta, and then drove from Atlanta to Auburn. And I coached the women for the first time. And it was an experience. And Auburn at the time was like a top 15 team. And the ladies played well. So it was a good experience. But my first experience with the women came in softball. Coach Mitchell asked me to coach softball for a year. Didn't have a coach, so I said I would do it because I played softball, but I never knew how the women's game of softball was. And first time we were out there playing, both teams started singing. You know, they sing these songs, you know, while they're playing, you know, while somebody's up to the bat, things like that. I wasn't used to anything like that. But we had we played UMBC one game, and coming home, I was going to drive straight back to campus. And somebody in the back of the van said, I'm hungry. So, and it was still one of my dear friends right now. I think she's on the board here at Coppin, Alicia Ritchie, and a sweet girl. But the voice that came from her, I learned one thing, which is, I think they use this word now, angry. You know, so you got to feed. You got to feed women. You got to feed them. Then we were at another game. It was an overnight thing. We played Hampton on Saturday and Norfolk on Sunday. And my pitcher had a little pop fly that she didn't know where it was, and it hit her on the top of the head. And it wasn't hard, it wasn't injury related or anything. And the next day when we went to play Norfolk, she wouldn't play. And I found out later, one of the players told me the reason why she didn't play is because I didn't come to her room that evening to see if she was okay. I was used to the man. You didn't have to do that. So I learned that I had to be more caring and I had to pay attention to what was going on. So from there, that was in '99, and then I took over basically the women. I did both for 2 years, and then took over the women exclusively. And from there on, it was like, let's go.
You had 5 MEAC Players of the Year, including I think 4 straight. What did you do to make Coppin the place to be for women's basketball?
I'll tell you, one big thing about basketball and most sports, it's about what you do on the field, what you do on the court, your X's and O's. But one of the biggest things is recruiting. And you're not going to win unless you get good players. I don't care how good of a coach you are. You have to have good players. And I will say that Kyle Lott, Billy Wilson, Corey McNeil were my assistant coaches. And in 2004 and in 2005, they just brought in some tremendous players. So it wasn't like we did so much. You know, we were a guide, and we told them little particular things, but they were players. They were players when they came in. I have Tanisha Harden right here. We call Big Chill in Camden, New Jersey, my hometown. And she came with, you know, Jill was like 6'3", 6'4". Whitney Cunningham came in at 6'3", 6'4". We got Shalmar Oakley, who transferred from Oscar, that came in, and just had a tremendous team. We already had a good team. We had won in 05, and then when they came in 06, it just snowballed from there.
It's been 24 years since you were introduced to women's college basketball. How has the women's game changed in almost a quarter century?
Players have gotten better. You know, they a little more athletic. And just watching South Carolina and LSU last week, I was amazed at the athleticism that went on, especially from the guards. I think that's mostly it. The intelligence has always been there. You know, women's basketball is probably more intelligent than men because men are more athletic. They go and do their own thing, you know, and the women have to be sort of particular about running a play and running it just right. And so the intelligence has always been there with women, but the athleticism, I think, has gotten a lot better.
You talked about your coaches and your former players who are here. Tell them what family members you have here tonight.
I have my wife, Joy, that I've been with for 53 years. We went on our first date January 24th, 1970. And I have my son, Jordan, and his fiancée, Myra. And my nephew who just moved back here from St. Thomas, and they live right down the street from us now, Shane DeGons, who is I went to his Hall of Fame inductee at Fairleigh Dickinson last year for cross country and track.
Joy used to be my intern in radio, and I can tell Joy is the boss because she was telling you to fix your jacket down there. We'll take a picture. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the man. Thank you very much, Coach Derek Brown.